Any questions for any of us?
When are they going through court? Do we know?
There'll be video arraignments. Excuse me. There'll be video arraignments tomorrow morning at 7:30. The prisoners will actually be at the sheriff's office, but the arraignment will be a video feed upstairs in municipal court at 7:30.
Starting at 7:30, and they'll all run through.
Yes, ma'am.
Chief, can you walk us through the process, the buying process, how you guys got these people on your radar in the first place?
Well, first off, it comes from people passing information and getting the attention of law enforcement. They got to report that at some point. Somewhere along the line, we need to get informants, and those informants then work with the police department, and they go in and make purchases and gather information and help us with that. That information then is taken by all the agencies involved, and we try to put together cases on these people. It costs a lot of money to do these cases. It takes a lot of time. It's been 10 months in the making, but we've got a decent informant this time and had a lot of opportunities to do that. But people need to call us, give us information, and then people have to be willing to step forward and help us. They're not just going to sell to the police officer. They got to be friends with somebody or something along the line to make those sales. So that's kind of the way we do it. BCI is very, very instrumental in this. A lot of the funding came from them, from organized crime, but we were able to get the informants in, make these purchases, and get these cases. And we failed to mention one of these individuals, Mr. Bailey, is looking at a RICO statute. Basically, it's an organized crime statute in addition to these trafficking charges here. So we'll be following up with that. And then one other individual that was actually part of this investigation. There was a homicide in Pickaway County that was tied to this investigation. These are some of the same players that are in that. So not only is it the overdoses, we actually have drug dealers out here shooting at each other in the process. So we're hoping to do the best to prevent those kinds of things.
You also have one individual, I think, Chief, this is on the sexual predator list.
What kind of pills are you actually talking about in terms of what's specifically focused on in this area?
We see a lot of oxycodone, or hydrocodone, Percocet, Vicodin, and then occasionally Oxycontin. We're starting to see a lot more heroin because they can't afford the pills now. But it's any of the prescription pain pills that people are being prescribed routinely and sometimes needlessly. And that's what gets them addicted, and next thing you know, we've got a big problem.
Is there an organization, or are these loose sellers? Are they individuals?
Well, they're all tied somehow together. Mr. Bailey seemed to be the guy who was setting most of these deals up. So he's connected to all of these folks, and that's why he's looking at the RICO charges in addition to what we have here. But they are connected somewhat, somehow, whether they start out as dealers or users and become dealers, or what we usually see is they start out as dealers and become users. They are all connected somehow.
Chief, are you suggesting that Mr. Bailey is the main seller and distributor to this?
Mr. Bailey had ties to most of these sales in some way, shape, or form. That's why we're looking at the RICO statute with them.
So for that homicide investigation, is there anything now moving forward with that? Now that
the sheriff has the people responsible for that in custody, but the individual who was killed in that instance was actually tied to this group and was working, and I believe Mr. Bailey was tied to him. So as we work through this process, we'll see more and more happening, and hopefully have more questions answered.
Can you tell us more about that homicide? Who was killed? When did it
I
happen?
would have to turn that over to the sheriff. Rodney Metcalfe, the case I'm referring to, but the sheriff would have more details on his investigation.
The shooter or the shootee is Rodney Metcalfe?
Rodney Metcalfe was the victim, and the sheriff can tell you about the other people.
Rodney Metcalfe was a resident of the southwestern part of our county. He was shot in the back of the head. We have 2 people in custody. At this particular time, the investigation is continuing. working with the police department and what they had in money laundering and things like that is still in progress, so. But we do have two people in custody and been indicted, and the case progressing through the courts now.
When did that happen? What's the date or approximate?
I'm not sure exactly what the date was, I think it was back
A couple months ago.
a couple months ago in
Sometime
December.
last year.
Yes.
But we moved quickly on that, within our time frame, right on it, moved quite quickly with it, and BCI was on the scene with us down there and did a good job, helped us with that.
Sheriff, then, are you saying then that both the victim and the suspects were tied to these,
Well, we didn't really have
the
all the
Circleville cartel, as it were?
We didn't really have all that information at that time. My detective lieutenant was on that and in charge of the investigation, and he's still got some work to be doing with the Circleville PD to see what the actual involvement was, but we knew the principal players and we were working together to try to get them. And I think this Metcalfe was lured down to the scene and was probably had another subject with him that we have charged also, and as a result of that, the shooting took place and we were right on it because we had a tip on it right quick.